Oh, 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 no. Oh, oh,
It's,
boy, oh boy. You really know how to improve my mood. That's
it's so
from dark to darker. God.
it's so
Oh,
it's so
so
it's so there it is. So happy February, my friend.
February, yes, the
February.
most mispronounced month of all 12.
It's shortest.
28 days this year.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like
And then what? Every 3 years we have a 29th. We had a 29th last year. Pretty
every
sure.
3 years, yes.
Every 3?
No.
Why is that?
It's every 4.
Why is that?
Because because we go around the sun every 365.25
And every so often
days.
we got to catch up so we stay in sync.
And if we don't do that, then we're going to end up,
Yes.
and it's going to be like
Yes.
autumn when it's really, winter, man.
So do you know about the planet that lurks behind the sun that we've never seen?
Planet X.
No, Melancholia.
Melancholia. It sounds sad.
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Yeah.
Another bit of homework for you. Kirsten Dunst stars in the movie Melancholia, and a very different performance from none other than our much discussed actor, Kiefer Sutherland.
Okay.
And it is not a movie that you should watch if you're looking to be uplifted. Like, oh, that was funny. Oh, I
mean, it's
it.
there in the title.
Of course it is. But there's
like,
more to it than that. There's more to it than that. Much more to it than that. And
it's sort of like if you go to a podcast called Happy Hour and it's just all super sad. Like you expect to be uplifted by it.
And in fact, we aspire to that, but never, at least yet,
we've always fallen short. I agree.
Haven't really got there.
Yeah.
I do my best, but I can't do it alone.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your best work, but
yeah. How was your trip to London?
I just got back today.
Really? What time?
I did. So I flew out of an airport. This is super rare. Normally I fly out of an airport. Normally
you fly out of Heathrow?
Yes. Normally I fly out of an airport that is east of me, but in this,
where your superintendent is a guard or head of security.
Yes. Friend, neighbor. Yes. But this time there's a slightly closer so let's see, the airports, the two cities that are on either side of me, both their airports are on the east side of the city. So the the city that is to my west, the airport is closer to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I can draw a diagram if you want. So
I don't think it's a detail that's riveting, but you can move on.
So anyway, but my wife. So the airport that I flew out of and back into is on the commute path of my wife. So
she picked you up.
So she dropped me off on her way to work, and I had to waste an hour and a half in the airport before my flight to London. And when I got back, I had to waste like 4 hours in the airport waiting for her
4
to finish her work.
hours.
Yeah, it's kind of
That's a
sucked.
while. Hour and a half is nothing, but 4
Yeah,
hours is a while.
yeah. I actually had like business meetings and stuff. Like I was doing
If
stuff.
you know in advance, you can take advantage of the time. When you said you wasted time twice, I didn't believe you either time because I don't believe that you waste time ever.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't think you have it in you to waste time. Your response, besides sneezing 5 times in a row,
yeah.
here
Hold
we
on.
go again. That's what you did last. Number 6. Well, I'm glad you got that one on air.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
So, I'll be right back. Okay. So, yeah. So anyway, I went to London on Monday morning, and hey, God,
What,
I'm allergic to this. It's
You're
not you.
allergic to
It's the cat. I
is
think.
it the cat? It's something. Well, I'll tell you, I was allergic to cats for a long time. When I turned 45, all my allergies went away. It was very strange. I suffered from allergies from my 20s to my teen years to my 40s, and then at 45, they all miraculously just went away.
Well,
I
I'm
never
like the
thought,
opposite, basically. So,
well, that's what happens. Well,
so
you're on number 8.
yeah.
8
So
sneezes.
the So I went to London on Monday morning, and I got there just in time to join my work team at a lunch. And like while I was on the train to get there from the airport, they said, "So we're here at lunch. Here's a photo of the menu. Should we order for you?" And I was like, "Yeah, order me the burger or whatever." And so I got there exactly when all the food was arriving to the table, which is like perfect.
Because you were hungry.
Well, perfect, and also like timing wise.
Well, that's a given.
But yes, I was hungry, and so from there we went to a WeWork. Do you know what a WeWork is?
A space, communal working space.
Exactly. Very good. That's a company. It's like Airbnb, but for like companies
Yeah.
that sprung up within like the last 5 years, I think, and like they did a little bit of like Uber, sort of shady deals and stuff. I don't know. There's a documentary about the WeWork rise to power.
You stay where you work?
No. But the HR person that organized this get together, like used to live in that neighborhood, and like she organized so that the place where the hotel and where we were working and where we were having lunch and dinner were all like within like a 5-minute walk from each other. So it was all nice.
Yeah.
And
How many people?
We were probably 8 people
Is it
there.
your whole company?
No, the whole company's more like 20, but this was like the product team that is mostly based in the UK and several of the newest hires, including myself.
So that's going to change your hours quite a bit. Instead of having to work with the United States time
Yes,
zone.
exactly. So my that's
Big positive.
the biggest change from like I've had a full week and a week and a half at this new company, and the biggest weirdest change is that because I'm working strictly with Europeans, I'm not used to being done with work at like 5 or 6.
Did you like second shift, or were you good? Are you glad to get back to first shift?
So I don't remember, like I've worked second shift, as you call it, for my whole career, basically.
Oh, for 20 years.
Yeah. So,
well, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't. I guess
because
I should have known
because
that.
for the longest time I worked, well, actually for like 15 years I was working East Coast time, North Carolina time, where for me that was like, and they said, okay, Erik can work remotely, but he has to be like on the clock and like available from 9 to 5 North Carolina time, which for me was like 3 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Exactly, second shift.
Right, exactly. So, and so like that was my normal, and that was amazing when my kids were little and I had the whole morning to dedicate to them.
And now they're off to school, so.
And then I dropped them off at daycare, and they were only in daycare for like 2 hours before my wife could pick them up.
Right.
And it was perfect.
Well, these hours would be so much better for your wife.
Right, but
you get to see her in the evening.
Exactly. So, but it's so disorienting to me to,
right.
Well, and then from that job, I went to a more, you can define your own time, man.
What did you pick?
Job where, when I was working with the Californians, where I did a lot of my work in the mornings, and then I had sort of the early afternoon off, but then I had like meetings towards the end of my evening that was like California morning.
You no longer worked the second shift for that job. You worked part of first, part of second.
Right.
California is 3 hours nearer your time zone in the first place.
No.
Other way around?
Is further away.
Oh, is it?
So like, so I would work in my mornings, but then I would have like meetings at like 7 p.m. My time, which was okay because I was sort of used to working at that
shift,
working that late, but now it's totally different because now I sort of finish at like 5:30 or 6.
You know what to do with yourself.
And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So it's different. And I'm still figuring out, do I, like a couple times last week, I went to the municipal pool in the afternoon when I was done with work. And so I'm trying to figure out what my life looks like.
What time does your wife get home from work? And your kids?
So she used to get home at 6:30, but lately, several months ago, she decided I'm gonna leave an hour earlier and get home at 5:30 and help our middle school daughter with her homework and stuff. And so she's been doing that.
So they're doing that, and you can.
So they're doing that, and I'm sort of like free, but like it's because it's winter. It's like dark, and
what time does it get dark?
It gets dark at like 5:30 or 6.
Yeah. It's that way for a while here.
So it remains to be seen what my life looks like 6 months from now when I'm used to this schedule. But at the moment, it's weird. But anyway, back to London. We we went to this WeWork place, which is like this really nice office space that that you have to like sign into, and you like the company booked this place, and we had this lovely like conference room place, and anyway, it was the bosses just like went over like what the product is, what the company is,
Mission,
mission,
product.
vision, blah blah blah.
Welcome aboard. Let's get you contextualized.
Right, exactly. But also encouraged us to ask questions about like, well,
why us? You were you're not the only new hire?
No, it was me and a couple other new people.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, a lot of the new people.
Why so many new jobs in a small company at once? Did they get an influx of money, or did they get a deflux of employees?
No, I think they did recently raise money, and several of my new colleagues are ex-Twitter people that were just laid off like a month ago.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, isn't that the way that works? So it was half the people were old veterans, and a lot of us were noobs, and it was like to sort of onboard all of us. And some of the people,
how old are these people, the ones that've been around, are they your age or much older, or what's the deal?
No. Some of the people that have been around for a while are younger than me, but I don't feel I've been at companies where I felt like the oldest person there, because like two companies ago, I think everyone was in their late 20s, and I was in my early 40s. But here I don't feel that way. I suspect people are within 5 years of my age.
Do they act their age? You don't act your age.
No,
my wife says that all the time. Will you please act your age? Doesn't she?
It's funny.
Your kids probably say that to you. Dad, will you please act your age?
That is an expression that they don't know. That's interesting.
Get them on the line. I want to set up. Listen, let's do this. Trust me. Let's do a podcast where you set it up, and I'm with your family, and you're not involved. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be super rad, man.
The stuff I would tell them, oh my God. They would.
So
I would tell them the famous nosebleed story.
Yes, that doesn't need to be broadcast anywhere.
I can't think of it without it being painful to me. I got to tell you, it was. I was alarmed.
So
anyway, move on. Move on. London, back to London. There you are.
Yeah. So it was this very like deep dive into stuff, and I won't go any further. But
so you were there in the WeWork. You were there for 2 days.
Yeah, I was there Monday afternoon and then Tuesday morning.
Oh, that's it.
Like, yeah, but it was quite a few hours and a lot of information.
But still, it's a nice way to do it. It's nicer than a full day of that indoctrination shit. It's like it's like a deluge. I mean.
And I learned so much on Monday, and then Monday night when I distinctly remember during the night as I was sleeping, like I could sort of feel my brain sort of like card cataloging all of the information that I'd been given.
Was it making clicks and whizzing noises?
They were whizzes and clicks. Yes.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's what the whizzing noises were?
No, I'm not sure. Uh, the the clicks though, I don't know. And so then we went out for dinner to a Spanish restaurant, which was like, okay, whatever.
Spanish restaurant in London.
We did, yeah.
Well, now, let me ask you this. Since I've not traveled out of the U.S. much, a little Canada, a little Mexico, which stories either way for that. But what food are the English famous for?
The English.
What did I say?
What food are the English famous for, or the Spanish?
Yes.
Okay.
English. Brits. Britain.
I mean, they've got their bangers and mash.
Yeah. Well, that's not so much that sounds to me to more be a luncheon entree rather than a dinner entree. Bangers and mash. I mean, it's sausage and mashed potatoes is like, I suppose it's a dinner meal. I mean, but
the British aren't famous for, I mean,
any food? Brisket?
I mean, they're the most famous British dish is chicken tikka masala, which is a curry thing that the British invented in England. That's not related at all to India.
Not related to India. Well, doesn't sound credible.
I mean, it was invented in
But
England.
it's an Indian dish. You could create an Indian dish in London.
No.
It's not an Indian dish, but it's made with curry.
They do not eat that in India.
They do not eat that in India. Okay. No. Bingo.
So,
shut my mouth.
So
you wanted some finality to the discussion, I can tell.
Yeah, but like, what is an American dish? It's like it's a very difficult question.
Hamburger, great steak from Kansas City, lobster from San Francisco, cod from New England. You know, I can keep going. That's fucking American stuff, buddy. That we're famous for, but England. But what about brisket? Why does brisket come to mind as aren't there a lot of cattle raised in Great Britain?
Cattle. There's
beef.
Yeah. I know what cattle means.
No, well, I know.
And my wife did work at a slaughterhouse in England.
That had to help her deal with you, didn't it?
And they do eat beef in England. To be honest, I can't really tell you, the typical British food is this.
So you don't know the answer to this question. If you had the opportunity to go to the best restaurant in London and order their best meal, you don't know what that meal would be. You have no idea.
It would not be, I think it would be Asian somehow. I think it would be Indian or Japanese or something.
And is that because of your colonialism, or is it because of the growing...
My colonialism?
The colonialism of Great Britain, I should say. You're not related to that at all, although you do work for a company there. So you're going to have to pay taxes in two places?
I've always paid taxes in two places, but yes, it's like there's no. I mean, I guess your most British food. God, I can't even. It's because all their local food is not that interesting. That they pull in a lot of foreign foods.
Fish and chips,
fish and chips mash, is like
that kind of shit. But and probably
pub food.
It's what you're saying is interesting because I think the question has to be answered through the prism of colonialism. That in a nation which was worldwide in its government and its population
In its reach.
worldwide,
Yep.
then Great Britain as an individual country is not a realistic way to think about British culture.
Sure.
I
sign at the bottom of that document. Yeah.
So, but here's a question: what percentage
Oh no.
of the population in Great
20.
Britain, particularly in London, is British, as opposed to other I don't know that Britain isn't being British isn't an ethnic.
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
Anglo versus foreign, like Asian or Indian. I suspect that it's
London is
high
London is very, very, very diverse.
majority non-white.
Majority. I don't know about that.
Well, the prime minister isn't white anymore, so there's got to be something going on where that happened. He's the first prime minister, isn't he? Who isn't?
Who is not an Anglo-Saxon dude?
The first one.
Well, I mean, there was an Anglo-Saxon.
That's why I didn't wear
women.
a seatbelt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know the actual stats, but it is, I'd say 50% of people that you see walking around in London are not your typical white.
Do you like to go to London? Do you like London?
So I hadn't been in so long, and then last November I went, and then this time I went, and I do enjoy London. I'm pretty sure I would not like to live there, but it is an interesting place. So on Monday, so I flew there on Monday, and on Tuesday morning, I was going to meet up with my colleagues, and I took a walk in the morning, and I walked around, and I saw all of people, scurrying to their work and commuting and whatnot, and it was very interesting to me. I really love watching I get to see. Let's see. I love watching a big city wake up in the morning.
Come to life.
I like seeing all the cafes putting out their chairs and stuff and setting up, and it just feels like there's possibility in the day.
You're experiencing the nuances and you're seeing the environment in a much fuller context than you would if you were not up that early, not walking around.
Yeah. And I saw all of these people in their office buildings, in their fluorescent lights, desks, space, because they don't have any curtains on the windows in the office spaces. Was it still dark when you walked? No.
Because it was 7 o'clock.
It was 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8.
So where'd you go to eat that Monday night?
The Monday night, we went to this Spanish.
The Spanish.
Restaurant.
Where'd you go Tuesday?
Yes, we will get to that. So Tuesday at lunch, I had lunch with my colleagues, and then Tuesday evening, which is last night, with my colleagues, we went to an Italian place where they were like, the whole place was decorated with it was very musical, and the walls were wallpapered with sheet music, which is like super fucking wild. And we had some everyone else at the table. At this point, there were only 6 of us, and everyone else at the table ordered a pasta thing, and I ordered the risotto, which was amazing.
With what kind of risotto?
It was cherry tomato and some greens and stuff.
Mushrooms?
Yeah, there was probably some mushrooms and garlic, and it was amazing.
To me, risotto without mushrooms, I can't. I gotta have them.
I make a pretty good risotto with squash and squash and
Yellow
almonds. Squash and almonds.
I don't recall you ever cooking a damn thing on our excursions. Why is that, you lazy shit? That's why. Never mind. I answered my own question, didn't I?
There you go.
The question was the answer to the question.
And so last night, I put out a thing on Twitter last week. I said, "Hey, I'm going to be in London on Tuesday night. Who wants to have dinner with me?" And I got a couple responses, and one of them was a friend that I met up with last time I was in London in November, and another was an online friend I had never met, that is actually she's from a place near where I live in Spain, but she's been in London for I don't know how many years, and she works at Meta, previously Facebook, building the metaverse, which is a whole discussion. And so we got together and we hold on. Let's set that aside.
Let's back up a minute here.
Let's back up. So on my way, after I had finished with my work colleagues, I had a couple hours before I was going to meet these friends. I went out and I was just walking around because it's fun to walk around London. And like an hour before I was going to meet these guys, I went into this bar and I was like, oh, I'll have a pint of lager. And I sat down next to this guy who was super friendly with the bartenders. And he started talking to me, and he is this guy. He's Italian. His name is Vito, and but he's lived he grew up in Australia, but he's been in London for a while, and he's traveled all around. He lived. He spent a year when he was 29 or 39. 39. He like rented a caravan and lived in Spain for a year. Just this crazy fellow. He's in the hospitality industry, and he talked about how he was. He spent the pandemic in the Cayman Islands.
Oh God!
And
he's in his 50s.
No, he said he's 49. Actually.
Well, I wasn't off much.
Right, exactly. And he like, we talked a bit about the different cultures and about politics and COVID and blah blah blah. And we just had a good old time. And when I finished my pint and I was like 20 minutes away from meeting my friends, he was like, "Get this guy another pint."
20 minutes of a walk?
No, I was across the street from where I was going to meet my friends.
But 20 minutes from
20 minutes away from the time. He was like, "Get the guy another pint," and so we chatted for a bit more, and it quickly became clear that he was a regular at this place.
Oh, sure.
Like I talked to the bartenders. I was like, so this Vito guy, he's here all the time, and they're like, every single night, yeah. Again, it's a Tuesday, right? And
At
and
4 o'clock.
at 5 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, 20 to 5, actually.
and so he told me when I ordered my beer, he was like, yeah, I don't drink beer, but my cousin does this thing once a year in Italy where they get together, and he and like 10 friends get together, and everyone brings a 24 pack of beer and food to cook, and they spend from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. In this villa somewhere, just nonstop drinking beer and cooking and eating. For
What a
for
blast.
12 hours, and he says, no one's ever too drunk or too full or anything. Like, it's just this constant 12-hour celebration of just hanging out with your bros, which I was like, damn, that actually kind of makes some sense. So anyway, after and also Vito is from Naples, Italy originally, and goes back there and has family there and stuff. And
After
I had been
Australia.
Right. And I had been talking with, we had been talking at my company about where are we going to do the next get together somewhere in Europe.
Naples.
And people were floating the idea of Italy. And so my new friend Vito said, well, let me tell you all the places to eat and stay and stuff in Naples. And I was like, okay, let me know. And he was like, well, give me your phone, open the notes app, and let me just type all this shit in. And so he did. He typed a whole bunch of places. And
what a great guy.
I know.
What a great guy. And that's before you met your friends.
That's before I met my friends. Like, I made a new friend. And right. he was just there. But he had all these stories. Like, when COVID happened, he was in New York City, and because he works like in the hospitality industry, like he has all these stories about like seeing all of the craziness go down in New York, and then somehow being able to escape back to Australia to like say goodbye to his family, and then he escaped to the Cayman Islands and lived there for like 2 years when everything was shut down. Anyway, dude is amazing. So then I meet my friends, and we have a lovely curry meal, and then my friend that like knows the cool places to go in London took us to some speakeasies. I've never been to a speakeasy.
No signs, just got to know where it is.
So so he takes us to this place, and it looks like an empty cafe place. Like there's nobody in there, and we walk in, and the woman comes up and says, do you have a reservation? And we were like, no, we don't. And she's like, oh, well, okay. And at this point, I'm not really 100% sure that he's taking us to a speakeasy, like my friend. And so I look around, and I'm like, there are 40 empty tables here. Like, why is a
Yeah.
why do we
Why
need
do
a
you need a
reservation?
reservation?
Exactly. And so this woman goes back and she's like typing on stuff and making a phone call and stuff, and she lets us sit there for 5 fucking minutes. And where meanwhile I'm like,
What the fuck? I want a beer.
well, oh, and like there are so many fucking tables here. Why aren't we?
Right.
There's nobody there, and so finally she comes back and says, "Okay, we can go." And so she walks us. She opens a refrigerator, and in the refrigerator, we walk through the refrigerator down the fucking stairs into into this amazing
Easy.
into this amazing hopping bar downstairs.
Oh, isn't that hilarious? That's quite a story.
And I'm like, damn, that's a crazy that's a crazy thing.
It's crazy. And what was going on? A lot of music, and was there live music?
There was not live music, but there was music and just a cool atmosphere down there, super dark. And so we ordered cocktails. Anyway, let's just say last night I'm not big into cocktails.
Right.
And these were like these were like
Foo-foo? Sugary?
No, I mean some were, but they're all just sort of mixed. I don't know. They all have these funny names. Like
describe to me the drink you ordered. You don't remember?
The first one was like Funky Time or something, and there was like thyme, the spice, and some tequila and some, I don't know, juice or something. Yeah, I don't know, something. And
did you want a beer instead, but they didn't serve beer, or?
I would have had a beer instead, but they didn't have beer. This was
they didn't serve beer
cocktail.
In the speakeasy.
No, this was a cocktail bar, and again, we're talking about these cocktails where like each one is like $15 fucking or whatever.
Oh boy!
And for like a little thing that you can take like 7 sips out of, and then you're done.
Oh man, that's a bummer. You didn't stay there long.
Yeah, it's there's a different level of the cocktail bar scene is different.
And is that typical for London though? Is that you're going to pay $15 for a mixed drink?
Probably. I don't know. This was a Tuesday night at a speakeasy. Yeah. Who the hell knows? Tuesday
night on a speakeasy. Well, did you go to another speakeasy?
We fucking did.
Oh, tell me about that one.
Well, this was a place where we we had a couple drinks at the first place, and then we went to another place that was just, if I had not been told to like go through this door, I would never have seen it, the proper speakeasy. And so we went down into this other place, and it was also it was also full of people. And like we had to wait to get a table because there were all these people on a Tuesday fucking night. And yeah, we sat down there, and then I got a little bit peeved with my friends because they are both single and each own a cat, and they spent an awful lot of time looking at their phones and sharing cat photos with each other. And it was just like, hey, look, this is my cat.
I don't know what's wrong with you. I can't imagine. That sounds like one of the most
exactly
exciting things
I know
do at a speakeasy in London.
I know, and they were like, "Oh, look, here's when he thought he could reach to this thing here." And the other person,
well, why didn't you just get up and walk around?
And the other person was like, "Oh, so cute! Look at this one."
Was it big enough place where you could wander from?
No. It was super small. And so anyway, they spent longer than I would have liked
Sure.
showing each other like, oh, and look, and this is when he like reached up and tried to scratch my wrist, and meh. Anyway, they eventually they stopped doing that and talked to me a little bit, but
And then where? And then what? The night ended?
then it was late, and
How late?
I made it back to the hotel and was in bed by midnight. But again,
Yeah.
this is London, and where they were like they were coming around to tell us like last call at like
At 11?
10, or 10:30 or something. So
Well, it's Tuesday night.
it's
too,
a fucking
but
Tuesday,
how long,
right?
But the bars stay open in your neighborhood in Spain. How long do the bars stay open, and how long do they stay open in London?
On a Tuesday, I think the bars around here are probably closing around the same time.
Tuesday, most of the bars in town, half the bars in town are open. Monday, 75%, 80% of the bars and restaurants are not open here on Monday.
Right, exactly. So
COVID, an aspect of COVID that they say, you know what? We never made that much money on Mondays anyway, so.
right, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I was tired from all of the from all the information from my work, but also from the from the 2 beers with the Australian dude, plus all the fucking cocktails. I was ready for bed.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And then I got up
what
this
time was your
morning.
flight?
I got up my flight was at 11, but I was an hour and a half from the airport, so I had to.
Oh boy, that's a distance.
Yeah, so I had to.
An hour and a half from the airport in London?
So
Back to the beginning of the story.
there are 4 airports in London. I flew into the super cheap airport that is super far from the center of London, called Stansted, and so I had, but it's fairly well connected with the train.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a long way.
Well, sounds like a great trip.
So it was great. Like I got to meet a bunch of people. I got to. It's totally different to meet people in person and to just hang in person. It's just different and better.
Now, you went out to dinner to the Spanish place on Monday night with your colleagues, as well as having lunch with them that day, and so you had that kind of communal time, and that was good, and you liked these people.
That was very good. We got into interesting discussions, and some discussions were not even about work.
Of course,
which was nice.
You would hope that'd be the case.
Yeah, there were times like at dinner where people were like, "Well, how could we increase ROI?" Blah blah blah, and those discussions were like, "Well, all right, fine. I guess we could talk about that, but let's also talk about how what life is like in Spain or London or Sweden or whatever." Right. So,
well, I got another job today.
Good.
Guy called me up and I built him a desk. You know that story.
Yes.
From last episode. And he said, listen, I want some type of a floor board that I can roll my rolling chair up and down this 7-foot long table. And this dude is real big, and he's got bad knees, so he sits a lot.
Yeah.
And he rolls a lot. And ended up getting a 4x8 sheet of brown board, hard board. It's a composite board that's very, very hard. Use it for paneling and whatnot. Cut a foot off of it. So it's 3 foot by 8 foot. Laid it down on the floor and bought one box of 1 foot by 1 foot adhesive tile that looks like stone, and adhesed
Wait,
each of
how many
those
tiles?
24, 8 by 3, 8 foot by 3 foot, and a
Math
box of
checks out.
tiles is how many tiles?
24.
A box of tiles is 24, exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. And it took me an hour to find the materials, and it took me 27 minutes to construct it. Boom. Because the place I bought the board from cut it for me. That's a huge deal. It's not easy to cut 1 foot and make a 8 by 4 foot board, an 8 by 3 foot board. That's a really long 8 foot cut.
Yes.
And particularly if you don't have a table saw, which I don't. They cut it for me. So he was thrilled. But anyway, it's good to have that job. I had told you earlier that on another front, not so good, but you know what it's like to lose a job.
I do.
Do you have a story about that? A little anecdote, perhaps?
I want to talk to you about the images that I sent you.
You told me earlier you wanted to talk to me about being told that you lost your job. So
No.
You told me earlier, you said,
What was that?
if you can remember, remind me to talk about a story about being told you lost your job. But it's okay. We can talk about the AI stuff you sent me. So one of the things that I was surprised about, I have a question about one of the images you sent me of two radio people talking in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Very well could have been a picture, but you indicated that it was, well, kind of in general, that it was more likely a composite.
Right.
So talk about that.
So this was previously you could go to a website and they would and you could suggest, like, I signed up pretty quickly to DALL-E, which is a stupid name. It's based on Wall-E.
Salvador.
Well, it's a pun on Wall-E, which is the Pixar robot movie, and DALL-E as the Salvador Dali, the artist.
Right.
And you could go and you could like say, show me a blue cat surfing on lava in the style of Vincent van Gogh, and it would like do its best to come up with that. And but a week ago, I discovered that there's this app that I could download called Draw Things, and with that you can go and like pick different AI models that like have to download like a gigabyte of whatever models are, and then you can like have it locally create stuff. So you're not like, it's not, the work is not being done on a server somewhere. It's being done locally on your computer. And anyway, some of the time that I spent in these meetings with people were kind of boring, where I could be like, hey, draw this thing, and it would think for like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And so during that 5 minutes, I could be paying attention, and then it would come back and I would be like, yeah, that's okay. And so while I was there, I created some of these images and I sent them to you. And yeah, it's So the way the AI image generation works is it has studied lots of images around the internets, and then you can suggest things to it, and it can try and make something similar to what it has seen before. And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, and the other ones did look. I think one of them I couldn't open. The second one I couldn't open for some reason, but I remember I couldn't open it on my phone, and then I went and go, hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Either.
My phone is a Samsung Galaxy, and somebody asked me the other day, so do you have an Android, or are you using an Android or iOS? And I didn't want to seem really stupid and say I don't know what either of those two things are, which is true.
Yes.
But if I would guess, that I'm on a Samsung Galaxy. It's an Android.
Correct.
And what is iOS?
iOS is if you have an
iPhone.
Look, yeah, exactly. I is the clue. iPhone.
Right.
iOS.
Okay. Gotcha.
And everything else is Android.
Okay.
Android is maintained by Google, but the most common manufacturer that uses it is Samsung. So.
Well, and I joined this organization. I'm on the board of the Kalamazoo Valley Blues Association now, and
Congratulations.
and they said, well, all board members have their own KVBA Gmail account, and I thought, well, I don't know why I need another account. I mean, I open this one every day. What, I got to open another one?
That's the way it works.
And I said, I don't know why. And he writes me back, and he says, and I said, and besides, I tried to open it and I can't open it. You have to walk me through it, since he's the IT guy. And I just couldn't find it. And when I went to the address and it looked for messages, it just spun around and around and around and around. And I said, this isn't right. This isn't working. But he said, well, we have meetings that are about the organization, and we have meetings and we share information, and we need the org platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that sounds like fucking goggly goop to me. What?
Yep.
Sounds what? Sounds like real. Whatever it is you think you have to have a different Gmail address for. I may not know much about IT, but I don't think that's true. I think that if I got a Gmail that's my address, and you want me on Zoom, and you want to do shit and send me shit that I don't need, and if you want me to go to your website, your org website, I can do that anyway. I don't have to have a separate email. It just seems like more work to me.
Yeah, you make sense, but you're also kind of wrong.
Oh yeah, how come?
Yeah, because if you join a group that has their own Google Workspace, which is where they give you a new email address. Like, I can tell you this, having changed jobs recently, there's a new Gmail workspace where you are now with this other address. They can then put shit on your calendar without you approving it or whatever. They can just assign shit to you.
Well, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't too outspoken about it, but I said I didn't quite understand it, and he explained it to me. So
so there's and then, but on the plus side, if you ever leave the organization, then you can just unhook that account, and then all of that those repeated meetings and stuff disappear.
So two pieces of dialogue likely for future time. The third episode of both, Your Honor.
I just watched it, and like as homework to like talk about it now, but like London took over.
Yeah, well, and I think are we out of time?
We're getting close.
Well, yeah, we are close. Well, in fact, we're quite close. The other one that had its third episode, which was a stunner.
Last of Us. I've heard people talk about the Last of Us third episode, and I must dig into that.
It's a bit of a stunner, and I really would like to talk about it. And
I will do
besides
my
that,
best.
well, and besides
For
that, there's just a lot of stuff coming up. Succession. Were you a fan of Succession? Did we
have talked
endlessly about Succession.
We have, and I'm excited that it's coming back. Is that a weekly drip?
Once a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Once a week.
In that case, that's good. That's good stuff. That's good content.
That's real good stuff. And I was watching one of the two networks, and a flash came by of all the upcoming stuff, and so much of it looked good. And I realized that how seasonal the shows are. There's a new True Detective coming up, starring Jodie Foster.
True Detective?
Yes, it's the third or fourth installment. The first one was Matthew McConaughey, and
yeah.
And the second one was not as good. Was Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
And the third one, which was quite good, was the black dude who was also in Green Book, starred in Green Book.
Season 4, Jodie Foster. Wow.
Jodie Foster, who isn't doing much in her 60s. She's let's see, Taxi Driver came out when? Because we could.
She just turned 60. So
she just turned 60.
I mean, and she was like 13 in Taxi Driver. So yeah.
Here, Ricky Gervais. You know the Mark Wahlberg or Mel Gibson, I should say, Mel Gibson movie that Jodie Foster directed called Beaver.
Beaver? No.
And it's about a man played by Mel Gibson who is just a little bit crazy, and before he's ready to jump off a cliff, he ends up with a puppet on his hand of a beaver, and he ends up having a dialogue with this puppet on his hand that literally saves his life.
The fuck?
And it is one of the most fascinating movies
Jennifer Lawrence? What?
One of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. And no spoilers here, the conclusion will freaking floor you.
Psychological drama.
Ricky Gervais was doing the Golden Globes and said, "Oh, there's so many stars here, so many stars, and they've done so many movies." And I don't know, has anyone here seen Jodie Foster's Beaver?
I remember that joke. Wow. So
and the camera on her, and she was just great. So many of these guys are,
but she's so fucking cool in every way.
She's way cool. And
so
he says I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth looking at. And it was very funny in a very totally unwoke kind of way, but she just rolled with it, and it was hilarious.
So Beaver cost $21 million and made $7 million. So
well, she might have financed it herself.
Fucking Jennifer Lawrence, Anton Yelkin, the guy that died tragically.
Yeah, he sure did.
Because his car ran over him. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now I need to watch that too.
Well, and I didn't mean to put too much of a downer on Melancholia, but I will tell you that Kirsten Dunst, this is her in a movie like you've never, ever seen her.
I am a huge Dunster diver.
Then put it at the top of your list, because you cannot take your eyes off her when she's on the screen, and she's on the screen almost the whole time.
Okay.
It was riveting, and such a storyline. Very, 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 very good.
Alrighty then.
It seemed to me there was one other visual. What?
So, it's great to be back.
You've got to be tired. You're ready for bed.
I'm ready for bed. I was out late last night,
Yes.
and then traveled.
The speakeasies. It was hard to, as you're telling the stories, to think. I thought, well, God, this is where he was last night.
I know, and
right?
Yeah, and just
you've got a lot of stamina to be able to do all that, fly all the way back, and then tune in here at such a late hour.
I know, right?
I know, you're a trooper.
It's more like a speak hard. No, that doesn't work.
Hey, so I want to talk to you some point, probably offline, about the idea we talked about formerly, previously, about a rendezvous in North Carolina for
at some point. Yes.
Yes.
We shall.
I'm not going. I told those guys I can't do March. It just can't commit.
Yes.
Can't commit. I want to know what works. Here's the difference between me and them other rascals.
Yes.
Let me tell you the difference. My first step in this process is to ask you what works best for you.
That's my boy right there. Yes.
What works best for you, Erik?
Exactly.
The guy who travels the furthest, who has the trophy for traveling the furthest every year.
I know.
And oh, by the way, Master of Ceremonies in perpetuity. Might want to be, a point of discussion in
Indeed.
terms of what I think about our branded gathering, this FA classic that they're planning. It's no classic.
FA.
Not a classic at all. FA classic. Fuck. Bullshit. That's what it is.
So,
I get it. So listen to this. So I talked to one of the attendees at the event who remain unnamed, and he said, "Well, the idea was to have a small golf outing with only really special people invited." And I said, well, given a 1 week turnaround from somebody who's 12 hours away, let alone a guy who's over the pond, I guess we weren't on that exclusive list. And I thought, well, okay then. Well, I guess I won't come. Anyway, I love you, man. I'll just leave this shit on.
Like, if something is happens in the future, is it informally?
If it happens in the future and you talk about it later, then that later discussion is called informally.
Well, I mean, formally is in the past, so informally is in the future.
Well, that could be true.
Right.
Information. Think of that.
Whoa.
The information nation. The information nation.
Okay, I'm going to bed. Good night.
All right. Love you, man.
Okay, that's it for episode number 174. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/174. The cover art for this episode is the AI-generated image of two podcaster radio studio dudes in the 1950s that you can check out. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour, and see you next week.